Hello everybody, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I am here to talk about 4 thrillers that I've read recently that are very new release thrillers. So all of these have either just come out or are coming out that some of them you should check out, some of them maybe not, but either way they're 4 recent releases of thrillers because in summertime I get a thriller mood, so I thought why not film a video sharing all my thoughts about them since they are new releases. The books I'll be talking about today are The Last One by Will Dean, Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing, Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano, and None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. As always, there will be timestamps in case you want to hear about one particular book. I'm going to tell you what I thought about it, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and what I rated it. So let's get into it. First up, I want to talk about the one that is not quite out yet, and that is The Last One by Will Dean. This one is coming out very, very soon, only a few more weeks. August 8th, the book release will be out, and I have to say, buy it. Like, without me even telling you anything about it, buy it, because I loved it. This book is all about a character named Kaz, and the beginning of the book, her and her boyfriend decide to go on this week-long cruise because they've been working hard, you know, they want a break, and you know, cruise sounds amazing, right? So they go, the first day is amazing on the cruise, and she goes to sleep, and when she wakes up, she is alone. By that, I mean she wakes up, her boyfriend's not there, then she goes out, and the whole cruise ship is empty, and that is all I'm going to tell you about it, because this book is best to go into 100% blind. You don't even really know. That's all you kind of know about the book, really, is that she's going on a cruise. She wakes up, she's alone. Things happen. You can, you know, guess, but you never really will. It is a very intense, very action-filled, very thought-provoking, and kind of heart-racing book. It's very much like a thriller with also action adventure. Like, I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Was not expecting to. I read this because I've heard a few people talk about it, and I was like, oh, it's set in a cruise ship, perfect time to read it because it's summer, you know, summer thrillers, sounds amazing, and I was blown away by it. There was plot twists I was expecting, there was plot twists I weren't, but either way, they were done really well. I wish I could tell you more, I really do, about my thoughts and feelings of the whole what happened, but I feel like that would take away from the book and would also be spoiling it, because the big reveal, because one of the big reveals gets introduced somewhat relatively early in the book, but still there's a lot more to go after that, so I don't want to spoil anything. But if you want like a high stakes action adventure thriller that will have you on the edge of your seat, The Last One is amazing. Like, I could see it being made into a movie and it doing really well. I did enjoy it, so I give it a 5 out of 5, which I don't do with a lot of thrillers, so I am very happy, and I will definitely be purchasing a copy when it comes out on hardback because I loved it. Like, I highly recommend. Moving on to our next book, A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. Samantha Downing is a popular thriller author because she has written 3 other books, which I have read all of them, and I mostly enjoy her books. Mostly is the key word here. Her first release, My Lovely Wife, is still one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I love it. He Started It is a great road trip full of siblings that had a great and phenomenal ending. And then her latest release before this one was, I forget what it was called, but I did not enjoy it. It was kind of an dark academia, but I wasn't really a fan of it. Now we have her newest one, A Twisted Love Story, which I was very excited for. It's all about 2 characters. We get both their perspectives, Wes and Ivy, and they have been together since college, and they've had a very, needless to say, tumultuous relationship. They get together, they break up. Basically, you're reading a very toxic relationship. Like, they're horrible for each other. Everybody sees it but themselves. They get back together, they break up, they get back together, they break up. At one point, I still remember very vividly in this book, Wes was kind of reminiscing about when him and Ivy first got together in college, how they were very broke, and they would go to a gas station and they would pick their 3 favorite snacks, and Wes's so happened to be Diet Coke, a Crunch Bar, and I want to say like Sun Chips or maybe another different type of chips, and Ivy's was Sierra Mist, Butterfinger, and Ruffles maybe, but either way, so that's his 3 favorite snacks, and so he reminisces about that, and then he also thinks about their first fight they ever had, and it was when they were at a college party. He got quite inebriated and maybe flirted with another girl right in front of Ivy, and reasonably so, she was pissed, and so she yells at him that night and then storms out of his apartment. He wakes up the next day, obviously hungover, goes in his kitchen, and there in a big bowl in his kitchen is like crunched up, like fine powdery, like crunch bars in a bowl, as well as with his favorite chips all crunched up like dust, and on top of it she just poured Diet Coke. Like, it was just a concoction of his favorite things all messed up. And you know, you would think when you see that, you would be like, it's run for the hills, like this is not going to be a good time. But no, Wes does not think that. His legitimate thought was, well, I cannot let a woman like this go. What? Like, you're telling me, like, he thought, you know, she put so much time, so much effort, thought of him so much to come up with this retaliation that she should just not be let go. She is a woman to keep. And it was like, and that right there explains their relationship in a nutshell. Like, you are probably like, that's like, if I did that, if I saw that, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, this is done. But no, Wes and Ivy love to hurt each other. Like, Wes and Ivy love to do that to each other, like just kind of retaliate against each other. And the whole book is about that. The book begins with them getting back together again for the umpteenth time, and they're hiding something kind of dark and sinister about when they last broke up. Something may have happened. Also follow a couple of other people's perspectives here and there. We follow an assistant at Wes's company that's maybe doing a little snooping into Wes. We also follow a detective that is kind of investigating a little bit into more in Wes and Ivy, and all these people are just not the best. They are all doing things with the bad intentions, but you know, it wasn't that great. I gave it a 3 out of 5, and that's very sad for me to say because I really do usually love Samantha Downing's books. She writes really interesting characters, flawed because we all are, but this one I just couldn't get past the very toxic relationship, and the thrilling aspect that was in it wasn't that thrilling to me, honestly. I think we all could have seen it coming. It wasn't that mysterious or interesting. I don't know. I just didn't love it, sad to say. It was just a very kind of miss for me, and that bums me out so much because, again, I really enjoy this author's writing, and I definitely will be reading more from her. Really was hoping to give it a 5 out of 5 because, like I said, repeatedly, I do enjoy her work. So, a bit of a bummer. Let's move on. And we have another book that's been released, and that is Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. It's safe to say what drew me into this was the cover. I saw my friend Desi post about it, and I was like, any book that has a VHS tape on it, like, I will buy it because I grew up in the 90s. I'm going to tell you that I'm old without telling you that I'm old. I grew up with VHS tapes. Those big, thick Disney ones, that was me. So yes, I had to buy it. So this book is also very difficult to explain. It says, on a creepy island where everyone has a strange obsession with the year 1994, a newcomer arrives hoping to learn the truth about her son's death. So this is a mixed media book, which I think is very interesting going into it because I didn't know that. It is compiled of interviews, reenactments, emails, letters. And what's interesting is at the very beginning of the book, it says a note to the reader, but it's not from Jimmy Giuliano. It's, you know, the person who wrote kind of this book, a book within a book, Harper. So this mostly follows from Harper's perspective because his sister Willow went missing on the island, and she had just like kind of recently lost her son. She found thing on her son's floorboards that said Clifford Island. She decides to investigate, and then poof, she goes missing. So Harper goes after her, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And basically what it says is, I've stitched the letters, text messages, and interviews as well as reenactments for lack of better words of events I uncovered during the course of my investigation into something of a unique, unorthodox structure. Some of the events and artifacts are presented chronologically. Other times I'll jump back in time to provide some valuable context that'll help to illuminate the riddles of the island. This is all by design. The structure of this book takes you on the same journey of discovery that my sister and I both took. And when you realize what's happening on Clifford, the true sinister nature of this island, and simultaneously jarring and yet surprisingly plausible. I came to Clifford Island with my eyes open, while Willow's eyes were closed. You'll see what I mean. And that's not spoiling anything. That's literally in like his little author. So it's kind of a book put together by Harper, who went to go investigate Willow's disappearance, and there you learn that this island that's kind of like right by Wisconsin, I believe, is all obsessed with the year 1994. They're also obsessed with the O.J. Simpson like car chase, and you know, you're trying to figure out what's going on. And it was interesting. Overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It is a horror book. Do I think it's very scary? No, there were a couple creepy factors. The island had a very creepy factor. The ending was a little bit creepy, but nothing too scary. It was more thrilling, I would say. And the ending, I feel like, is very, like you could guess what was happening, but I wasn't mad about it at all. I think it was interesting the way they did it, and it also I don't know. It's just a very interesting book. I would recommend it. It's a book that is thick, but you can fly through because of the way it's told, how it's in mixed media format. You will fly through it, and I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, and I definitely will be reading more of his books if he decides to put more out in the future. So if you want a book that's kind of about a creepy island set in 1994, people go missing, kind of weird things are happening, check it out. And the last book I want to talk about is another recent release, and that is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I have read a few Lisa Jewell books before. My favorite of hers is Watching You, was actually my first one I read by her, and her other ones I've read have just been kind of hit or miss. She's a very hit or miss author for me, but I am happy to say that this book I read by her was definitely a hit. I loved it. The reviews have been really, really great, and I will stand by those reviews. It was a solid thriller that I really enjoyed. In this book, we also follow two different characters. We follow Josie as she is going to celebrate the beginning of the book her 45th birthday at a restaurant with her husband, and then walks in Alex with her group of friends, and she learns that it's her birthday too. They stumble upon each other in the bathroom, and she's like, hey, you're my birthday twin. She's like, oh cool, how old are you? And they're both like, we're 45, like I'm 45. So not only they have the same birthday, they're also the same age. And they learn that they were born in the same hospital, and Josie's just like, that's just so amazing. And from there, Josie becomes infatuated with Alex, I will say. She starts to investigate her, learns that she has a podcast, and Josie kind of puts herself into Alex's life. She kind of finagles her way to be a subject onto Alex's podcast. And from there, I believe the book says just as quickly as Josie enters Alex's life, she leaves without a trace. And suddenly, Alex's own podcast turns its ways around, and it's about herself. So we have a very interesting concept where we have these two people that have very different lives. Alex has a husband and two young kids. She's 45 and she's mostly happy. Her marriage is a little bit tough, but whose isn't? Then we have Josie, who is married to a much older, like 30 something years older than her husband. Both of her kids are grown. One of them's out of the picture. One of them you don't want to receive from. And she's very unhappy with her life. And she kind of weaves this story to Alex about her life. But throughout the whole time of her doing it, you have to constantly think, is she being honest or is she not? Because we learn that Josie is not who she says she is. And it just becomes kind of more diluted from there with learning more about the mysteries that both of these women hold. And it was very interesting. I love the ending. It was awesome. I love the characters. Josie is a character you felt very compassionately for 1 minute, and then the next minute you're like, I don't know if I trust her. She doesn't seem to have the best intentions. She maybe is not doing the things that she should be doing. And I loved it. I would give it probably a 4.5 out of 5. I'm very happy to have read it. Again, if you're a big fan of podcasts within books, I check it out because this one does kind of have a podcast centered around it, and I thought it was really great. Probably my favorite Lisa Jewell book I've ever read by her, so don't miss out on it. If you're like me and kind of have a wonky relationship with Lisa Jewell, this one is a definite must, I would say. Definitely check it out. So there you have my thoughts and feelings on 4 recent thrillers. I'm happy to have really enjoyed the majority of them, despite one. The one that I really thought was going to be an easy 5-star for me because I enjoy the author so much wasn't, but that just goes to show you with reading, like Forrest Gump says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And that's a very true statement with books too. I would love to know if you've read these books, what you thought about them. Have I convinced you to read some? Maybe not. Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.